Chapter 21 What is irritability? You are listening at novelfull.audio. The more Li Mufan heard, the hotter his temper flared. He exploded, "Shut your trap, you nosy broad. Wang and I are catching up, so but out. One more peep and I'll have you silenced." Pure, unfiltered rage, expressed with brutal verbal force. Everyone was stunned. Fan Qingyue blushed and looked away, thinking, this petty tyrant is scary. He'd off his own wife just for speaking her mind. That's cold. Catching everyone's reaction, he realized he'd screwed up. A vein throbbed in his forehead, and his anger intensified. He roared at Li Haotian, "Where'd you get this nonsense? I'm leaving now, how will you treat me?" Wang Mengyu's face was flushed, her big, beautiful eyes brimming with tears. She glared daggers at Li Mufan, speechless with rage. Li Haotian was also furious, but he had the political savvy to restrain himself, knowing now wasn't the time. He suppressed his anger, saying, "Li Mufan, you two-faced snake, I'm letting this slide today out of respect for the past. Let's go." Wang Mengyu bit her lip, giving Li Mufan a look that seemed to burn his image into her memory. She scoffed softly and turned away. As the group slowly departed, Lu Long sidled up to Li Mufan and whispered, "Your Majesty, should we give them a little arrow shower?" Li Mufan shook his head. "Not the time or place. Let the cheater and his lady friend go for now." Seeing the strange looks on Lu Long and the guards' faces, he snapped, a vein throbbing on his forehead. "What are you staring at? Get the supplies loaded onto the rafts. All of them." Everyone quickly averted their gaze, scurrying to obey. Li Mufan had barely taken a few steps when a light bulb went off in his head. He suddenly had a hunch about their farewell performance. The next day, dozens of large bamboo rafts floated down the wide river, carrying Li Mufan and his company. The rafts, made of hollow bamboo, were incredibly buoyant, easily supporting the weight. Thanks to sufficient medicine and food, the soldiers were in much better shape after a night's rest. Li Mufan stood on the central raft, hands clasped behind his back, gazing at the dense jungle on either side. Beside him stood Fan Qingyue, Aqiang, and Xuanhuan. After a while, Lu Long splashed his way over, landing on the central raft. "Master, the spies have been dealt with." Li Mufan nodded. "Good. Now, tell the men to find a place to dock. We're turning back upstream." Everyone looked stunned. Fan Qingyue asked, "Master, aren't we headed to Chaos Corner? You think Li Haotian is doing us a favor?" Seeing their confusion, Li Mufan smiled. "They're trying to figure out our next move so they can cut us off at the pass. Wang Fushan and Wang Mengyu are cunning enough to guess we'd head downriver once they saw the rafts. This is elf territory, so it's no place to build a base. That leaves the southernmost Chaos Corner, the Wild West, our only chance at a foothold." Lu Long frowned. But even if they guessed Chaos Corner, it's a junction for the elf, elephant, and wolf tribes. It's not only a long haul but also filled with factions we can't mess with. What makes you think we'd be safer there? Li Mufan shook his head. The elephant men and wolf tribes may be strong, but they're still low on the totem pole, and the elves pull the strings. The Sun and Moon Kingdom has to pay the elves tribute every year. They could easily bribe a few elven bigwigs during the tribute, and with their resources, they can wipe us out. Fan Qingyue said, "But didn't you say the elves won't mess with humans? Why would they take bribes?" Chapter 22, Secret Passage. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Li Mufan chuckled. "Fan, people are people. No race is perfect. There are always going to be bad apples. Even some elves are greedy for money. If they get their sights on you, you're in trouble." Several people had an aha moment, chiming in, "You're right, boss." Li Mufan, flattered, felt a surge of satisfaction. "Lu Long, no time to waste. Go spread the word." "Yes, sir." Fan Qingyue, curious, asked, "If we're not heading to Chaos Corner, where are we going, boss?" Li Mufan didn't answer, just took in the scenery with a knowing smile. Fan Qingyue's cheeks flushed slightly. She glanced down, stealing looks at Aqiang and Xuanhuan beside her. When she noticed they seemed unfazed, she breathed a sigh of relief. 10 days later, news of the Dongshan city battle had reached the surrounding tribes. The tribes were on edge about the Yunqin Empire's sudden deployment of a weapon of mass destruction and started sending people to Dongshan City to investigate. Sun and Moon Palace, Imperial Garden. An old man in his 60s was relaxing in the palace garden, enjoying a cup of tea. Li Haotian, dressed in royal robes, rushed over. He sat down and asked anxiously, "Prime Minister, what's going on? Is Mengyu still holed up in her room?" That the old man gave a wry smile. "Thank you for your concern, Your Majesty. Since that day, my daughter has been locked away, claiming she's unwell. She won't see anyone except the maid who brings her meals. I don't know what to do." Li Haotian sighed. "It's my fault for dragging my sister to see that thief that day. Otherwise, she wouldn't be like this." The old man, Wang Fuchen, as the kingdom's prime minister, knew exactly what happened 10 days ago. "I didn't expect this guy to be so tough that even 10,000 elite soldiers couldn't stop him. I heard he escaped downriver. Does Your Majesty have any solid information on him?" Li Haotian shook his head. "He's slippery. He's dodged several waves of spies I sent after him." "What are your thoughts, Prime Minister?" Wang Fuchen hesitated for a moment. "Your Majesty, the Yinsang River starts in the Lost Mountains far to the north, flows southeast into the sea, and crosses most of Yunzhou. If he went downriver, I think he's most likely headed to Chaos Corner." "Chaos Corner? What do you mean?" Wang Fuchen tapped the table, drawing a watermark. "Your Majesty, the Yinsang River becomes calmer after Ishin Gorge. It passes through the territories of the elves, elephants, and wolf tribes, then flows into the Lost Mountains again. Going south, the water gets rough again, too dangerous for boats. Plus, southern Yunzhou is Sky Fox territory. Humans can't survive there. Even if he got past the Sky Foxes, there's just the ocean beyond, nowhere to go. So, I predict he's heading to the intersection of the elves, elephants, wolf tribes, and the Lost Mountains. Chaos Corner, next to it, where monsters are common, is a no-man's land. It's close to the Lost Mountains, so the resources are decent, and dozens of small warring tribes live there. It's the perfect place for him to hide." Li Haotian grinned. "The Prime Minister is a true pillar of the country. Li Mufan won't get away this time." Wang Fuchen shook his head. "Your Majesty, the mountains are tall, the roads are long, and there are elves to contend with. Dealing with him won't be easy." Li Haotian repeated Wang Menyu's words from that day with a smile. Wang Fuchen stroked his beard, thinking. "My daughter's plan to set a cat among the pigeons is the way to go. I happen to be close to an elf tribe leader. When spring comes, I'll pay the elves a visit." Chapter 23, The Empire's Attention. You are listening at novelfull.audio. In the Yunqin Empire, nestled within the Imperial Palace, one of the big three human powers in Yunzhou, Emperor Qin Yongjun was at work. This wasn't some backwater kingdom, we're talking about a nation of hundreds of millions, a place that had reformed and grown strong over centuries, flexing its muscles on the surrounding regions. The Imperial Palace stood grand and imposing in the heart of Yunda City. Inside, Emperor Qin Yongjun was buried in paperwork when the door burst open. A beautiful young woman, barely out of her 20s, rushed in, her face flushed with excitement. "Dad, I'm back." Qin Yongjun looked up, a smile spreading across his face. "Schwer. Weren't you tagging along with your brother, seeing the sights? What brings you back so soon?" This was Qin Shui, the empire's youngest princess, bright-eyed, with skin as smooth as snow. She pursed her lips. "I came back early with important news." "Important news? Let's see it." Qin Shui immediately fished a crumpled letter out of a pouch on her waist. "Actually, my brother wrote this for you." "So, you don't have news?" He picked up the letter, surprised. He unfolded it, read it for a moment, and frowned. Qin Shui, ever curious, asked, "So is he a big deal?" "Did he really make you frown?" Qin Yongjun blinked. "You know about it?" Then he figured, with his daughter's nosy nature, she probably eavesdropped. The kid really stirred things up. Even the elves are talking. I didn't see that coming. Qin Shui scoffed. He's just the king of some podunk little vassal state, and a washed-up one at that. Relax, Dad. Give me 3,000 troops, and I'll have him captured within a month. Qin Yongjun chuckled. Swear, don't be ridiculous. This guy's not to be taken lightly. Li Haotian's 10,000 elite soldiers couldn't make a dent in his 200. He's got something going on. Seeing her look dissatisfied, he teased, I hear this guy's a real womanizer. Our little princess is far too cute. If he laid eyes on you, you might never come back. What? Qin Shui's face turned crimson. He actually does that? I'll make him regret it. Li Mufan's remarks that day must have really spread, if he's being called a womanizing kidnapper. Even the emperor knows. I wonder what he thought. Qin Yongjun threw back his head and laughed. Go see your mother. And have Li Basui come see me. Qin Shui huffed, knowing her father was just teasing her. She spun around and stormed out of the study. As soon as she was gone, Qin Yongjun's expression turned serious. He tapped the table 3 times, and a shadow materialized in the room. A figure cloaked in black knelt before the emperor. Go to Dongshan City in the Sun and Moon Kingdom. Find out what that explosion was, and where Li Mufan got all that armor and weaponry. The shadow gave a slight nod and vanished. A moment later, a handsome young man entered the study. Li Basui reporting to your majesty. Rise. Qin Yongjun gestured to the letter on the table. Take a look at this report Princess Shui brought back. Thank you, your majesty. Li Basui rose, respectfully picked up the letter, read it quickly, and said with a smile, Your Majesty, I had heard rumors that Li Mufan was a weak and unremarkable man, but it seems they were mistaken. Indeed. I thought so myself, and agreed to Li Haotian's palace coup. Now, it seems that was unnecessary. Chapter 24, Storm is coming, the clouds of war are looming. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Li Bo Shui stated, in my opinion, the palace's actions weren't without reason. The letter detailed Li Mufan's secret training of soldiers from the populace and the hoarding of a significant number of weapons, strongly suggesting that he's been concealing his ambitions and biding his time. If we allow him to fully develop, he'll become impossible to control. Qin Yongjun chuckled, you've thought this through. Given the circumstances, this was the only course of action. He then shifted the conversation. Did you complete the task I assigned you a few days ago? Yes, your majesty. According to our intelligence, the Yasha and Elf tribes engaged in a fierce conflict in the eastern sea region of Yunzhou. Both sides are mobilizing their forces. I believe war is imminent. Excellent. Qin Yongjun slapped the table. Did we leave any trace? The scene has been thoroughly cleaned. The elves and Yiksha have a long-standing rivalry, so they won't suspect us. However, there was an unforeseen incident during the escort of the elf princess. The princess and our soldier were caught in a waterspout on the Yinsang River and swept away. I'm afraid. Oh. And this happened. What are the princess's chances of survival? Li Basui replied, surviving a waterspout is highly unlikely, and the Yinsang River is known to harbor monsters. Falling into the river offers little hope. Qin Yongjun paused thoughtfully before saying, initially, having her as leverage could have been useful in the future. But since this accident occurred, let it be. Continue to monitor the elves' movements and report any signs of war immediately. As you command. After Li Bushui's departure, Qin Yongjun exited the imperial study and gazed at the blue sky. This Yunzhou has remained static for millennia. It's time for a change. On the expansive grasslands of the Yunqin Empire's northern region, countless Huang-level tribes reside. Among them, the most formidable is the barbarian Niu tribe, known as the Taoran. Being semi-nomadic, the barbarian Niu tribe struggles to thrive. They primarily rely on grazing or hunting monsters on the grasslands for sustenance. When famine strikes, they resort to raiding neighboring tribes and even venturing south to invade human territories. However, due to the Yunqin Empire's steady growth and strengthened defenses, they haven't launched any major southern incursions in a long time. In one of the barbarian bulls' tribal villages, a sacrifice was underway before a monster hunt. Powerful Tauren performed an unusual dance around the corpse of a massive monster. The ceremony concluded after about 30 minutes. Immediately, a Tauren approached the tribe's great elder, who was wearing a strange mask, and whispered something. The great elder roared loudly at the end of the message. The humans have oppressed our kind for far too long. Do they think our warriors are all dead? A Tauren, seemingly of high rank within the tribe, asked, Great Elder, what has transpired to provoke such anger? The despicable humans ambushed and killed our caravan. Niu Qiangliu and the 25 warriors sent with him were all killed. The 10 crystal cores that we worked so hard for were stolen. What? Upon hearing this, the Tauren warriors in the field leaped to their feet, waving their weapons and clamoring to march south and slaughter the humans. However, the great elder, understanding the strength of the human race, knew that a single tribe would be decimated if they went south alone. He shouted, immediately notify the tribes across the grassland and summon them to our tribe to discuss a plan for a southern campaign. Go south. Go south, that a deafening roar echoed across the grassland. Chapter 25. Now we start from the beginning. You are listening at novelfull.audio. 10 days later, far northeast of the Sun and Moon Kingdom, Li Mufan and his crew were setting up camp in a thick forest. After 20 days of travel, they'd finally reached their destination. Li Mufan, Lu Long, and Fan Qingyue stood on a peak, taking in the panoramic view. Fan Qingyue asked, Master, is this open space below going to be our new home? Li Mufan nodded, pointing to the forest. Check it out. We're surrounded by mountains on 3 sides, and behind them runs the Yinsang River. That river separates us from the Lost Mountains, creating a natural barrier. Plus, the river is a great waterway. We can use it for entry and defense. It's a strategist's dream. To the west is a dense forest, so we don't need to rush. The forest gives us cover, and then we can move towards the western plains where many tribes live. They're nominally elves, but they're independent, so no worries there. And because of the mountains, we're sheltered from strong winds and floods. Several streams flow down from the mountain springs, giving us plenty of water. It's a perfect spot. Lu Long immediately chimed in, Young master, you're a genius. I'm in awe. Fan Qingyue, though skilled in cultivation, didn't quite grasp the strategy, but she didn't mind. Being near Li Mufan was enough for her. After a moment, Li Mufan said, Go tell the troops to gather in the clearing. I have something to say. Soon, everyone was assembled in the forest clearing. Li Mufan addressed the 200-plus soldiers. Brothers, this is our new base. Right now, it's just an empty lot. But believe me, we're going to build something great here. We'll build this into a thriving city. You're the same guys who have been with me through thick and thin. You've always been warriors, ready for battle. Now, some of you will need to hang up your armor, put on work clothes, and trade your swords for plows. But don't ever forget you're still the kingdom's finest. Keep up your training. One day, you'll pick up those weapons again and lead an army. The soldiers roared with excitement, raising their swords and chanting, Long live! Long live! Long live! Li Mufan nodded, pleased. He raised his hands, and the camp went silent. Let's get to work. Lu Long, I'm tasking you with selecting 50 of our bravest to form a combat team. You'll be the captain. Yes, sir. Lu Long replied, looking thrilled. Qiang, you'll lead an engineering team of 50. You're in charge of building everything here. Qiang, who had become more human-like lately, answered loudly, Qiang accepts. Xuanhuan, you'll form a planting team of 30. You'll be responsible for growing our food and ensuring we have supplies. Yes. Came a clear voice. Xuanhuan, like Qiang, was also showing more personality these days. Zhang Tai, you're in charge of a stone-cutting team of 40. You'll cut the blue and white stones, ensuring we have enough material for construction. Yes. Zhang Tai boomed, full of enthusiasm. Li Mufan walked over to Zhang Tai, unbuckled the long knife from his waist, and handed it to him. Your Majesty. Patting his shoulder, Li Mufan said, a solid base needs solid materials. This blue and white stone is hard, perfect for camp walls. My knife's pretty sharp, it'll save you time. But. Zhang Tai's face turned red. He was at a loss for words. Just take it. No need to make a fuss. Li Mufan pressed the knife into Zhang Tai's arms and returned to his spot. A show. A handsome young man in a wolf fur cloak stepped forward and knelt. What are your orders, master? 10 days earlier, Li Mufan had entered the ring space and spent 10,000 silver on a follower card, a decision he immediately regretted. Seeing A show kneeling and calling him master again, he exploded. Damn it! Stand up! I told you not to call me that. The soldiers, familiar with A show's behavior, weren't surprised that this pretty young man always acted this way. A show stood, looking at Li Mufan with an innocent, aggrieved expression. Li Mufan sighed. You'll lead an animal taming and breeding team of 30. Your job is to tame wild animals and raise poultry. Yes. Regaining his composure, he continued, finally, the forging group. Qiang will be the temporary captain, and Xuanhuan the temporary deputy. You'll select 30 people to make weapons, armor, and all sorts of supplies needed for the camp. Qiang and Xuanhuan responded simultaneously, yes. Fan Qingyue. You'll lead the remaining 6 people, forming a logistics and communication group. You'll handle the camp's logistics and communication, and you'll be responsible for my daily needs and meals. Yes. Fan Qingyue replied, blushing. Her job was part logistics and part maid. As the only woman in the royal guard camp besides Xuanhuan, she was the perfect one to take care of the young master. She'd been looking after Li Mufan all the way here, and now it was official, with the teams assigned. Li Mufan announced, that's how we'll divide things up for now. As we grow, we'll make further adjustments. Our first task is to build temporary housing. Team captains, select your teams and start cutting down trees and building those wooden houses. Yes, Your Majesty. Everyone responded enthusiastically. The generals thought, His Majesty is truly a leader. He had planned it all out and shared his vision with everyone. If he were still king, he'd definitely be a wise ruler. Chapter 26, Re-entering Space. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Half a day later, Li Mufan, Lu Long, and Fan Qingyue stood on the hillside, surveying the bustling camp below, all wearing satisfied expressions. Armed with basic swords, the colonists chopped down trees faster than with axes. Qiang, Xuanhuan, and A show, skilled in construction and crafts, led the way in building temporary wooden houses and beds in just half a day. By nightfall, everyone would have a roof over their heads. After a moment, Li Mufan spoke. This area's close to the Lost Mountains, which means potential monsters. Lu Long, take the combat team and patrol the perimeter immediately. Deal with any dangerous beasts or monsters you find. If you're outmatched, fall back and report immediately. Yes, sir. Lu Long replied and hurried off to organize the patrol. Qingyue, send 3 people out with 5 days' rations and 20 gold coins to scout the area. Find out what's happening beyond our borders and if there are any nearby human settlements. Understood. Once Fan Qingyue had left, Li Mufan frowned, a puzzled look on his face. Strange, how has nobody claimed this prime real estate before? Night fell, the temporary camp was complete. After dinner, the colonists settled into the wooden houses for the night. With everything just starting out, there wasn't any nightlife to speak of. Inside Li Mufan's wooden house, the fire crackled, casting a reddish glow. Lying on his bed, he glanced at Fan Qingyue, already asleep in the other bed, and felt his cheeks flush. Ever since their escape, they'd been constantly on the move. Fan Qingyue, worried about Li Mufan getting cold at night, would always hold him while they slept. Over time, he'd gotten used to it, however, despite his fiery temper, he exercised restraint in this area. He'd read enough books to know that many emperors had met their end this way, and he wasn't looking for an early grave. Turning his back, he took a deep breath and calmed himself down. He focused on the future of the base, the personnel, and how to structure the various systems. After some thought, he realized he was missing a capable strategist with a good head for the big picture. As the night deepened, Li Mufan, who had eventually drifted off to sleep, was jolted awake by the system notification. He remembered that today was the day he re-entered the ring world space. His vision went dark, then bright, and he found himself back in the familiar room. Unlike his first visit, the once luxurious room was now bare except for the golden bed. 10 days prior, Li Mufan had entered the ring world space and, besides bringing back a beast, had acquired some basic food supplies. Follower cards cost 10,000 silvers each, and he'd spent thousands more on food, which was already pushing the struggling base to its financial limits. Enraged, he'd had his men dismantle the room's fancy furnishings and trade them for 20,000 silvers to cover the exorbitant fees. He rushed out of the room and headed straight for the central round hall. Finding it empty, he was taken aback. He ran to the entertainment room and found 5 colonists playing pool and watching TV. He blew his top and roared, "Xuanhuan! What are you doing here when you should be recruiting prisoners? And you, Xilian? The colony's running out of food, why aren't you cooking?" His outburst sent the colonists scattering like startled birds. Chapter 27, Prisoner Trafficking. You are listening at novelfull.audio. After getting some people on the job, he plopped down on a fur sofa and thought, "System, can you take these prisoners at my base?" The second time he entered the space, a tribe of hundreds attacked. Since Xiang, Xuanhuan, and a show were outside and couldn't return, 5 people wouldn't cut it for such a large base. Figuring more was better, he'd captured a dozen or so half-dead prisoners, planning to recruit them after patching them up. Now, though, the colony's food situation wasn't great, and feeding that many mouths who weren't working didn't make sense. Better to sell them and be done with it. The system offers 2 ways to process the captives. First, recycle them for silver. Based on their individual stats, they can fetch between 500 and 2,000 silver. Oh! His eyes lit up. Now that's a good chunk of change. The second is to convert them into civilians. The host only needs to spend 100 silver to brainwash them and remove them from the space. After brainwashing, all their stats will be reset to 0, and the system will implant relevant memories. Once outside the space, the captive will automatically become a civilian in the host's territory. Li Mufan paused, then immediately dismissed the second option, silver over civilians. Any day, 500 silver buys a set of decent equipment. That gear would be worth a fortune back in Xuanhuan continent. And with money, you can always recruit more people. He got up, left the luxurious entertainment room, called for Xuanhuan, and headed to the captive holding area. Xuanhuan was a short-haired beauty, Xuanhuan's sister. They looked a lot alike. She was a level 1 body refiner, and her stats were pretty good, a weaker version of Xuanhuan. The captive room was lavishly decorated. Being locked up here wasn't so bad, there were 17 captives total. Li Mufan checked their stats one by one. Only 2 were any good, the rest were just dead weight. System, sell all but Damu and Bai Yan. Ding dong, selling 15 captives will yield 13,000 silver. Confirm. Confirm. The captives in front of him flashed white and vanished, leaving only 2 young men looking unfazed. 13,000. Not bad. That's another colonist right there. Nodding in satisfaction, he told Xuanhuan, keep these 2 well-fed and comfortable. Recruit them ASAP, and then strip this room of everything valuable. Yes, master. 7 days passed. One day, Li Mufan was practicing swordsmanship in the entertainment room when the base alarm blared. At the same time, the system chimed in, a group of Hunter Fleet members have been airdropped near the base. They will attack immediately. Prepare yourselves. Hunter fleet. Li Mufan was taken aback. Unlike the tribal attacks, the hunter fleet was a serious threat in the ring world. They had tech that surpassed the industrial age. Their hunter rifles had long range and a high rate of fire. Plus, they wore hunter armor with crazy good defensive capabilities. They were a tough nut to crack. Everyone, to defensive positions. He yelled, sprinting towards the outer defenses. Soon, the remaining 5 colonists were ready. Li Mufan stood watch on a tower, observing the overall situation. Chapter 28 Technology Card, this time it's great. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The base's defense was simple, an open space surrounded by a steel wall with only a narrow passage in and out. Rows of fiberglass drone guns, at least 30, lined the wall, their barrels gleaming coldly. 5 colonists armed with Oran rifles were dug in behind sandbags along the front wall, only their heads visible. They were tough targets to hit. The whole setup felt like a fortified gatehouse. You could imagine how hard it would be to crack a defense like this. Here they come. In the distance, over 20 hunters in black armor, rifles in hand, charged towards them. He timed it perfectly. Open fire. He yelled. Rat-tat-tat-tat. The 30 drone guns and the colonists' rifles erupted in a coordinated barrage. A storm of bullets ripped into the first hunter, sparks flying. Ding ding ding. The heavy sound of bullets hammering against armor filled the air, and the hunter went down hard. Instant kill. Even with super tough armor, they were toast against that kind of firepower. The drone guns had a 3-second cooldown after their initial burst. 2 other hunters used that window to dash forward and return fire. Ding ding ding. Their bullets smacked against a drone gun, but the fiberglass barely registered the hits. Rat-tat-tat. 3 seconds later, another blistering hail of bullets tore into them. 2 more hunters dropped instantly. A purple flash burst from another hunter, like something detonating on his person. Li Mufan, watching from afar, squinted. He thought he'd seen a card flash by. After a fierce half-hour firefight, the hunter squad was completely wiped out. They'd only lost 4 drone guns. Walking onto the battlefield and surveying the bodies, Li Mufan barked, grab anyone who's still breathing. Strip the armor off the dead. Get it all into the warehouse with the weapons. Yes, sir. The colonists immediately began clearing the area. Xuanhuan asked, boss, should we give the prisoners medicine? Medicine was still valuable. Normally, Li Mufan would just slap a bandage on the prisoners and let fate decide their future. This time, he thought about it. These guys are walking cash. Use the herbal remedies to keep them alive. Understood. A little later, Li Mufan was fiddling with the purple card and asked, System, what's this thing? Never seen one before. The purple card is a tech card. You have 2 options, use it to randomly acquire a technology that can be applied in the outside world, or recycle it through the system for 5,000 silver. Tech I can take outside. Whoa. What if I get nuclear tech? The system replied, the more advanced the technology, the lower the odds. Your chance of hitting nuclear energy is 1 in 10,000. Okay, you got me there. After hesitating, he decided to roll the dice. Ding dong, are you sure you want to use the tech card? Yep. Ding dong, you've acquired the technology, soil cultivation. Ding dong, please designate a colonist to receive this technology. The colonist must already exist in the outside world. Plowing the soil. Sweet. This is huge. Li Mufan laughed. Give it to Xuanhuan. Ding dong, colonist Xuanhuan has accepted this technology. 10 days flew by. Li Mufan's vision went dark, then bright, and his consciousness snapped back to his original body. On the 8th day, Xuanhuan had successfully broken the 2 remaining prisoners from the last raid. She'd given them their usual dose of genetic enhancers. Over time, their genes would be boosted until their body functions were 40% stronger than normal. They'd also captured 8 elite hunters during the attack, all of whom had survived. Li Mufan checked their stats and was surprised to find that while these 8 didn't have other special abilities, their strength was already at the first level of body refinement. One woman, Black Dragon, was even at the second level. He could get 2,000 silver apiece for prisoners like that. But after a long debate, Li Mufan decided to win them over instead. Money came and went. You never knew when you might need these guys on your side. After all, hunter raids were random, low-probability events. Besides the prisoners, they'd also seized a ton of weapons, gear, and body armor. He figured the battle had netted him at least 50,000 silver. What was the value of the drone guns he lost compared to that? The hunter fleet is loaded, unlike those dirt-poor tribes. Looks like fighting is the fastest way to get rich. He hadn't brought anything back this time. First, their food supplies would last a while. Second, a sudden influx of goods at the camp would definitely raise eyebrows. Shaking off those thoughts, he glanced at the sleeping girl beside him, then quietly slipped out of bed. He wasn't planning anything sneaky. He just had to pee. Nature called. Chapter 29 scared the baby to death. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The forest was quiet at night. Inside the camp, all the soldiers were asleep. A cool evening breeze blew. Li Mufan, standing at the entrance, hunched his shoulders, pulled his thin clothes tighter, and headed towards the edge of the camp. Man, winter's coming fast. I gotta get some warmer clothes and blankets next time, he thought to himself. Standing under a tree, he casually unbuttoned his pants. Having relieved himself, Li Mufan was about to head back when he saw something that made his blood run cold. In the jungle just beyond the camp, a squad of skeleton soldiers in armor was moving. The freakiest part? These skeletons didn't have feet. Their swords were rusty, their blood-soaked armor was falling apart, and the large flags on their shoulders were stained black with blood. They looked like a group of ghosts silently floating eastward past the camp. Holy crap, ghost soldiers! Li Mufan was so scared he started shaking, clamping his hand over his mouth. He bit the tip of his tongue, forced himself to calm down, and took a quick count. There had to be at least 400 or 500 of them. He carefully crept back toward his shelter, quietly opened the door, and let out a relieved breath once inside. Damn, that scared the crap out of me. Instead of crawling into Fan Qingyue's warm embrace, he gently put on his armor, grabbed the female general's long sword. He'd given his broadsword to Zhang Tai, and slipped back out the door. He quietly moved to the next room, but he was a little embarrassed by what he saw when he opened the door. Seriously? Qiang, Xuanhuan. You guys couldn't lock the door. That the two were really going at it, and the sudden voice startled Xuanhuan so badly she nearly jumped out of her skin. Seeing it was Li Mufan, she sighed in relief. Qiang grinned. Boss, what's up so late? The two were starting to act more human, their faces weren't as blank as they had been. Li Mufan wasn't sorry for interrupting their fun. He pointed outside and whispered, we got something going on out there. Grab your weapons and come with me. About 15 minutes later, the three of them were hiding behind a big tree not far from camp. Watching the ghost soldiers slowly vanish into the night, Xuanhuan whispered, Boss, these ghosts don't seem to care about our camp. Yeah, but I'm still gonna worry if we don't figure out what they're up to. Let's go, we're gonna follow them. Qiang and Xuanhuan didn't argue. The three of them carefully trailed the ghost soldiers through the jungle. 2 hours went by, and the night got even darker. Following the ghosts, they arrived at the foot of the mountain east of the camp. Li Mufan frowned and stopped as the ghost soldiers disappeared one by one onto a hidden path. He had no idea where the mountain path led, but it was covered in a thick layer of fog. There was no fog at the foot of the mountain, but this path was shrouded in it. Something was definitely up. Li Mufan wasn't stupid. He wasn't about to rush in. He figured he'd wait until morning and bring the whole squad back to kick some ass. But as he was about to turn back, everything went blurry, and the next thing he knew, he was standing in the thick fog. That was a major shock. Li Mufan's hair stood on end, and he felt a surge of panic. Boss, Qiang's voice reached him, and Li Mufan quickly grabbed Qiang's arm, then grabbed Xuanhuan's arm with his other hand, anxiously saying, Quick, hold on tight, it's foggy as hell here, we can't get separated. Boss, what do we do now? Don't freak out. Hold hands and head back, let's get out of here. But no matter what, they were surrounded by thick fog, and there was no way to see the way back. Trusting their memory, the three of them walked back quickly, but no matter how long they walked, they couldn't escape the fog. Li Mufan's heart sank. But just when he was at a loss, he suddenly heard Qiang say, "It's that stone tablet again. Boss, we seem to be back where we started." Stone tablet? I didn't see any stone tablet. Xuanhuan said, "Boss, are we going around in circles? I've seen that stone tablet 8 times already." That these two had much better eyesight and memory than Li Mufan. Hearing them say that, an idea sparked in Li Mufan's mind. "Take me over there." Standing under the 10-foot-high stone tablet, Li Mufan was in disbelief. The square stone tablet had writing on all 4 sides, but it wasn't in the common language of Tianhan continent. Death. A deep red word death was emblazoned on the boulder. This. Li Mufan was horrified. Someone else might not understand the square character, but he recognized it instantly. It was a Chinese character. An ancient traditional Chinese character. He was in shock. A huge wave of emotions surged through him. Where is this place? Why are there Chinese characters? Qiang. Are all 8 of the stone tablets we passed written with that word? Qiang hesitated. Boss, the fog's too thick, I can't see clearly, but it doesn't look like the words on the other stone tablets are shaped the same. Quick, keep going, let's check out the writing on the other stone tablets. After walking a bit, Xuanhuan's clear voice rang out, "Boss, look, there's a stone tablet up ahead on the right. Injury." On this huge rock was a bright red Chinese character, injury. Death? Injury? Are we being told that it's either death or injury? Li Mufan's hair stood on end. Keep going. Find the other stone tablets. The 3 of them walked for a while in the swirling fog and found another stone tablet. Die. Another word death. Are we back where we started? Li Mufan wasn't sure, but Qiang beside him said, "Boss, I'm pretty sure we just turned back." He was stunned for a second, then remembered that the sense of direction of the 2 in front of him was also 40% stronger than average. He got angry and roared, "You idiot! Why didn't you tell me sooner? Lead the way, let's go another way." Chapter 30, Weakness Limits Imagination. You are listening at novelfull.audio. This time, with Qiang and Xuanhuan leading the way, they didn't need to backtrack. Li Mufan's head was clearing, standing under a stone tablet, staring at the red Kai character carved into it. He finally understood where they were trapped. Xiu, Sheng, Shang, Du, Jing, Si, Jing, Kai. It's an ancient Bagua stone formation. Li Mufan was certain they'd stumbled into the legendary Bagua formation. After a moment's pause, Li Mufan asked, "Do you guys remember the general location of each stone tablet?" Qiang and Xuanhuan exchanged glances. Xuanhuan spoke up. "Master, I think I have a pretty good idea, but I can't promise I'm spot on." "That's good enough. Listen up. Take me to the first boulder with the word death carved on it." "Yes." The 2 responded, grabbing Li Mufan's hands on either side and heading into the fog. Crack. A strange sound echoed under their feet, stopping them short. Li Mufan glanced down and saw the yellowed bone of some unknown critter, crushed under his foot. "Master, look! There's a weapon over there." Squinting through the mist, Li Mufan spotted a weapon resembling a Fong Tian painted halberd. The halberd was about 10 feet long, its blade gleaming coldly. It had to be a seriously high-end weapon. He bent down and tried to heft the halberd, but it wouldn't budge. "Qiang, give it a shot." Qiang grabbed it with one hand, and the halberd barely trembled. "Master, this thing must weigh at least 1,000 pounds. 1,000 pounds? Li Mufan was stunned. Could a weapon really weigh half a ton? His own limited strength made it hard to imagine. "What a find," he sighed, then said, "Qiang, you carry it for now. Xuanhuan, lead the way." Okay. After a while, they arrived at the boulder originally marked with the word death. Li Mufan asked, Xuanhuan, how long did it take us to walk from the last stone tablet to here? Xuanhuan hesitated. Master, not counting the time we spent trying to lift the halberd, about 15 minutes, give or take. Okay, now go back the way we came. It should take about 7.5 minutes. Remember that number. Yes, Li Mufan directed them, weaving east and west in the mist for a while. When they stopped under a stone tablet, he had a hunch. Just as I suspected, these 8 stone tablets are arranged in a circle. Now, we need to follow the circular path from the back of this stone tablet to the Sheng stone tablet. Can you two do it? Xuanhuan nodded. Master, don't worry. They walked for about half an hour, passing the Kai, Shang, Si, and Du stone tablets before stopping at the Sheng stone tablet. Along the way, the sharp-eyed Aqiang spotted another spear. The spear looked high quality, but unlike the halberd, it wasn't too heavy, only about 100 pounds. Don't let it go to waste, Xuanhuan, you carry it. Finally, they stood in front of the Jing stone tablet. Li Mufan exhaled. Straight ahead. Keep going. We're getting out of here. That he had no idea how far they walked. Suddenly, Li Mufan felt a shift in his mind and found himself on a mountain path. The moon was bright, the stars scattered. The faint moonlight washed over the three of them. A gentle breeze swept by, like a lover's caress, bringing a sense of relief. Back in his previous life, he'd been a bit of a bookworm. He'd come across some info about the Bagua formation in a dusty old book at a street stall. Who knew it would actually come in handy? They'd finally escaped the fog and survived.